Joining me now, Steve Schmidt, former GOP strategist and co-founder of the Lincoln Project. Steve, I've been on Twitter this morning looking at your long thread in which you talk about the 7 specific parts that comprise the core of fascist movements. There are times I've seen you be really angry on Twitter and in person, and there are times when people have said, come on, let's not get carried away with this. This isn't really what's happening. This is really actually what's happening. The undermining of democracy and a coup that leads to authoritarianism and fascism is actually what is happening right now.
Good morning, Ali. It sure is, exactly. Look, this effort will be unsuccessful. It will be unsuccessful in the way that the beer hall putsch was in Munich in 1923, almost 100 years ago. But what will have happened between November 3rd and January 20th is faith and belief in the legitimacy of American democracy will have been poisoned by the actions of Donald Trump and much of the elected political leadership of the nation, all of them members of the Republican Party. When this vote takes place on the 6th, the Republican Party will split into 2 factions, and those factions have irreconcilable differences. There will be an autocratic faction, and there will be a Democratic faction. Now, all Republicans have collaborated, been cowardly, and been complicit in their silence, at least at the elected level, over these last years. But some of them have not yet crossed the Rubicon from which there is no return, and that's about to happen. You're about to see the idea and ideals of the country stabbed in the back by United States senators. And the cynicism required for a Ted Cruz, Princeton University, Harvard Law School, Josh Hawley, Stanford University, Yale Law School, taught at Oxford, a clerk to the Chief Justice of the United States. The cynicism, the ambition, the amorality of this is indescribable. It is such a breach of faith, and I think this morning about the graves that overlook Omaha Beach and the American Cemetery. All of those graves face west, towards home. Across the ocean, those men never returned, dying so that we could live in a free world, in a free country. What would they think this morning when they watch this sedition ready to play out on the floor of the United States Congress in the name of nonsense, in the name of lies, in the name of Donald Trump's ego and his thirst to retain power, which has been stripped from him by the sovereign will of the American people exercising their voting rights under the Constitution of the United States of America?
What's in it for these folks? Hawley, Cruz, who came close to, came closest to winning the Republican nomination, Marsha Blackburn. Is it that they're scared of Trump turning on them? Is it that they want to profit from or benefit from the Trump base? Is it that they want to run for president and that base continues to be strong and big? What do these guys get out of this?
Well, you have the leaders of them, Hawley and Cruz, who do want to be president, and then you have the sheep among them who will follow them. But in this contest between the autocratic faction and the Democratic faction, so let's look at it this way. Liz Cheney, come January 6th, will be the leader of the conservative faction, the Democratic faction of the House Republican Congress. Kevin McCarthy will lead its autocratic faction. Mitt Romney, Pat Toomey and others, Ben Sasse, will stand on the side of democracy on the floor of the Senate. Inside the Republican Party, that side that has fidelity and commitment to democracy will lose the fight to the autocratic faction. They will be steamrolled over time, and it won't take very long. The 22 primaries will be a bloodletting, but they will be steamrolled like the Belgian army was steamrolled by the Wehrmacht in 1940. The side that is gaining strength, gaining power inside the Republican Party is the autocratic side that has utterly broken faith and tradition with the American idea. Now, the power graphs seem reasonable when they say we're exercising our power under the law, but this isn't about exercising a power or following the law to do some type of diligence. This, again, is poisoning faith and belief in the idea of American democracy. And over the course of the month of November and the month of December, historic months in this country, we have some 80% of membership of the Republican Party who does not believe that a fair, free, legitimate election was in fact free, fair, and legitimate. This is a slander against the United States. The people who are involved in this are giving tremendous lift to every dictator and every autocrat and every ideologist around the world who has always maintained that America is not a true democracy, that American democracy is a lie, that it's not on the level. The damage that they are doing to this country is incalculable. And I want to say one last thing, which is we've invented a lot of things in America, from automobiles and spaceships that can land on the moon and return to Earth, the internet, iPhones, the list goes on, automobiles. The greatest invention in the history of the country, bar none, is the peaceful transition of power, which began in this country in 1797 and has been uninterrupted through the Cold War, through Civil War, through Great Depression, through all manner of national tribulation. That is the great American invention. It has been the greatest American export, the idea that the people are sovereign, that the people of a nation can govern themselves. And we need to understand something. There is no other system that exists but this one. It has parliamentary forms, as it does in the UK, in Canada, and Australia. But the idea that the people are sovereign, that we choose, we decide, there are no other variations, no other alternative systems that maintain the freedom and the human dignity of the individual and the freedom of the society through the popular will of the majority of its population to decide the direction of whether it's the town, the county, the state, or the nation. That is what is being attacked here. That is what is being vandalized and assaulted. And as we come to the end of this catastrophic presidency with hundreds of thousands of Americans dead, corruption, malfeasance, division, the stoking of a cold civil war in our land, there is no sin that Trump and his factotum, his vile enablers have committed that is more grievous, more egregious than this one, the poisoning of America's faith and belief in what 13 generations of American patriots have made blood sacrifices to maintain and expand. It is an appalling hour and a dangerous one.
Steve Schmidt, I recommend my viewers go to your Twitter feed. You posted a string of tweets 12 hours ago, and it is a worthy read. Thanks for your time this morning. As always, Steve Schmidt is the co-founder of the Lincoln Project. Healthcare workers